Everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Claudia, and welcome also to another edition in my series, Wine, Women, and Words. In tonight's video, I'm going to be discussing It's Not All Downhill from Here by Terry McMillan. I love Terry McMillan and have loved her for many years. Here are two books that I have from Terry. Mind you, I have almost all of her books. It's been a while. I've been reading her for years. So these two are still on my bookcase. And her other titles I have read, and I do not know where my copy of Mama is. That is her first novel, but it was as wonderful as this latest novel is. I loved Disappearing Acts, her second book. She did an anthology called Breaking Ice after Disappearing Acts. And she did Waiting to Exhale, as probably so many of you know, if you know Terry McMillan, because of the movie and the book. Stupendous blockbusters, both of them. I loved her book, How Stella Got Her Groove Back, and I also loved the movie, How Stella Got Her Groove Back. And then, of course, on my shelf, A Day Late and $1 Short, and The Interruption of Everything. And then, It's Not All Downhill from Here. My friend, my beloved friend, said to me, Claudia, we have not read a book together in ages. And I had to agree. We had not. When you compute life, jobs, family, and the ups and downs, the roller coaster ride of life, you have a shorter window for reading and calling a friend to discuss that book. But I'm so happy she decided this year, 2020, is the year that we are going to return to our beloved reading of the same book. I say let's start the discussion with a drink of red blend wine to salute Terry McMillan, who is still writing and publishing and active on Twitter. I just love Terry. If you know Terry's writing, you know she is hilarious. Well, her characters are wonderfully humorous. And if you're feeling down and you read one of her novels, you will be up, soaring, and filled with laughter. She's the same way on Twitter. Her tweets are magnificently funny and pithy and wise. The novel is about 5 best friends, 5 BFFs who've been friends since school days. And those BFFs are currently in their latter 60s. The main character, the protagonist, is Loretha Curry, and she's 69. Her BFFs are Lucky, Sadie, Corinthia, and Poochie. I loved each and every one of them, including Loretha Curry, whom they called Lo. It was magnificent. They shared their trials and tribulations, and they realized that they had been loving one another as sister friends far longer than they had been loving their spouses, boyfriends, and husbands. As a matter of fact, the novel opens with Loretha and Carl, and you feel the love in their relationship. It doesn't last long, however, before you get past 3-4 chapters, Carl is gone. He dies unexpectedly while he's in Las Vegas taking Lo on a trip for her birthday. And that trip puts a foul taste in her mouth for celebrating birthdays, because who would have known? She did not know that her nurturing, loving, romantic husband, mind you, he might have been the fourth, no matter what number he was in the lineup of husbands, he treated Loretha like the queen that she was. This is the book cover. You see the 5 friends in the beautiful way of the artistic way of the surreal looking characters, because you don't see their faces, you don't need to see their faces. You can put their features and personalities together after having read the story in your own mind as far as what they looked like. The copyright on this novel is 2020. It has 32 chapters, and I love the opening of it. The quote says, "You cannot go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending." That is like a crystal clear, sparkling sip of wine. No, you can't change the beginning, but wherever you are in life, right here, wherever you're sitting in the driver's seat in your life, you can make plans to change it if you don't like something in it. Instead of complaining and griping about a situation or a person, make plans to change it, to better yourself and your life. It's all up to you. I'm going to begin by reading a piece of her opening chapter. So in the event that you don't know Terry McMillan and her writing style, I'll give you a little sampling of it. And I love what Terry said recently on her Twitter wall as far as find your voice as a writer or as a person in general. Find your voice and love it and cultivate it and know it so well that when people hear your voice, your words, or when people read your words, they will know that it's you, because it's so characteristically, inimitably you. I would know Terry's words no matter what I was reading or what I was listening to. She is just so iconically herself. Chapter 1. I don't want another surprise party, which is just one reason why a few weeks ago when my husband Carl called while I was walking our dog, BB King, to the dog park and asked what I wanted to do for my birthday this year, I politely said, "Baby, let's try to figure out how to get our second wind." At first, Carl high-pitched chuckled like he was a soprano or something. Then he said, "Will we need a boat?" I chuckled right back, even though I was serious as a heart attack. "Don't you worry, Miss Lowe. I've got you covered," he said as he hung up. I knew he didn't really get my drift. What I meant was, since we both had more days behind us than we have ahead of us, how about we try to figure out what more we can do to pump up the volume? It's not that our life is boring. Well, maybe it is, a little. But even though we don't do very many things that generate excitement, I still love him more than my Twizzlers. Carl is a retired contractor who refuses to retire. And after 30 years of all work and no play, selling hair and beauty products in 2 stores too many, I don't exactly qualify as a thrill a minute either. I released B.B. King's leash inside the dog park, but he just stood there shivering, as if he were waiting to be invited in to participate in some activity that didn't require him to run or jump. In human years, he and I will soon be the same age, 68. His whiskers and eyebrows are peppered in gray, but unlike me, BB doesn't dye his hair. He is our third German Shepherd, and I don't want to think about how long it will be until he doesn't want to or can't hop in the back seat of my Volvo station wagon, which I will drive until, like me, it stops running. I sat on the green metal bench and watched him sniff a friendly chocolate poodle. I realized I was hoping and praying I wasn't going to have to sit through yet another lackluster party where nobody even thinks about dancing until they hear a song you have to be damn near 70 to remember, which I suppose now includes me. The delightfulness of her writing is like that throughout the story. So Loretha is a twin, a fraternal twin, like me and my brother, except Loretha has a female twin. Her name is Odessa. Loretha, as a character, says Odessa is a major bitch and takes delight in bitching every time you meet up with her. She says Odessa is a bitch and proves it on a weekly basis. The delightful thing about that is Loretha is born December 31st and Odessa is born January 1, but they're still twins. And later on in the novel, the mother makes a joke about them having different fathers because the mother was obviously a firecracker, just like Loretha and Odessa. Lovely, lovely writing. Now, I love the fact that there are so many opposites and fresh contrasts in the novel because Loretha is very successful and the owner of 2 beauty supply stores. And Odessa is not as successful and does not have a loving relationship with her husband, who left her for a younger woman. So she looks at Loretha in a very jealous slant. There is also jealousy in generations later when Loretha has her children. And Loretha has a boy and a girl. Jalicia spends the novel in and out of facilities, in and out of trouble. She deals with designer pills, alcoholism, and she just has a very, very difficult life. She's depressed and we don't know that until the end. Jackson is Loretha's baby boy. He is successful. He is the man. He has a Japanese wife. He lives in Japan with his wife and his 2 little half-Japanese girls. He blames no one for any situation that he sees as a hardship. He doesn't even blame Jalicia, who treated him terribly while they were growing up. He's a positive sort, and he just decides to live his life for the best no matter what. First, I love so many things about this novel. It is, like I said, characteristically Terry McMillan style. You know her voice. When I read her voice to you, you can have an image of what she would be writing. It's not erudite and scholarly language and diction used. It is very conversational, easygoing, wonderful reading. And it is reading. Even though it might sound deceptively simple, it's not. It takes a lot to put a novel like that together that you can remember the characters and love them and want to go back and look in on them and see what they're doing when you're reading it. You don't want to stay away from the story too long. Terry has her thing over the years mastered. She is a master storyteller. Terry's read is chock full of characters you love. Not only the BFFs, Lucky, Sadie, Corinthia, and Poochie, but you will see the other characters who come up, like Cinnamon, Jalicia's daughter, Cinnamon, who has twins. And there you go, another set of twins. The boy is handsome. Yes, that's his name. And yes, he's cute. He is handsome. He's a baby, but he's handsome. And the girl's name is Pretty. You got to give it to her. These names, like Toni Morrison style, everything is in a name. Characteristic names, Sweetie, Milkman Dead for Toni Morrison. You've got these interesting, intriguing names with Terry McMillan as well. I love the fact that the characters were in their latter 60s. I'm 62. I could relate on so many levels with the characters. I love that the characters were going through the roller coaster up and down ride of that particular period. It's a period where you want to cleave onto your friends because they start dying off of different diseases. And the disease in this novel is diabetes. The characters must watch what they're eating. And I love that Terry just doesn't touch upon diabetes here and there, but she brings it full swing with what to do if you have diabetes, not in the sense of the clinical medical language, but in the sense of just taking care of yourself, cutting back on that sugar, exercising, and doing what your doctors tell you to do. I love that these characters experience second chances in life. I love that they take on new love and they don't walk away from love. Like so many times, Black women in particular, and so many other people, once love fails them, they walk, or once love walks out of the door seemingly, they walk out of the door on themselves. And suddenly they're no longer dating, they no longer want to dress up and meet someone, or just go out on dates and just enjoy the person that you're with for the reason why you selected them. It's just like waiting for death, but not Terry McMillan's characters. Yes, they have trials and tribulations with children who tax them and drain them financially sometimes, but they do what they have to do to keep going in their lives. Like Corinthia loses her son to drugs, and Loretha is thinking that she's going to lose Jalicia to drugs to alcohol and pills. And Poochie ends up dying in the novel because she's ill and she figures that she's going to go through it alone. So she takes her life and reclines in bed fully dressed with her shoes on and leaves. The novel seems to be saying, don't give up on yourself, no matter what the situation is. Cleave onto your friends. Know them. Know others. Know yourself. And make the decision to live. Because it's really not all downhill from here. I love how Terry characterizes Loretha and all of the others. They tell half-truths. They turn away when other people would want them to do things for them. They're like, no, you. I love how ambivalent the characters are, how they have the good sides and the bad sides, just like people. How you want to tell them, don't lie about that, but they're lying anyway, and it makes for great reading and tension, because on one page a character is doing something that you're proud of. Oh yes, you're like, oh my goodness, I love that they did that, and you think maybe about what you've done good for yourself or for someone else, and then whoop, turn right around 360 degrees and the character is doing something you know he or she is going to pay for later on. Well, that's Loretha. She is well drawn in that sense. I loved it. I love that the characters grow, and any good writer knows that. You just cannot have a character who is static and remains the same. It leaves for reading that is static as well. Just like a good movie, you have that roller coaster up and down. You should have that with your characters. They should have character flaws. Nobody is all one way all the time. And that is something else that Terry is exquisite at doing, because I want to just strangle Lucky and Corinthia sometimes, and even Sadie. Like, speak up, don't back down, go get your man. When Lucky is allowing hers to think about going to Costa Rica without her, lose some weight, and deal with what your doctor said. Do exercise. Corinthia is saying to Loretha, Lo, come on to my hip hop class. I love that Corinthia, or let's call her Co. They call her Co. I love that Co is a senior citizen, but yet she looks like a model. She's a model senior citizen in fitness and health, even if she's dealing with children who drain her, and great-grandchildren and grandchildren that she gets tired of. She is all about taking care of herself when she can, and going out and dancing and meeting people and falling in love. And she meets Henry at the end, and she is so happy that she said yes to love. I love that all of the women help one another and bring one another up to speed when they fall down. I love that they even cancel their friendships sometimes and walk away for just periods of time. And you know, there are people that you know that you want to walk away from, and you do walk away from them. Sometimes you walk away from them for a season, and sometimes you make the decision to walk away from them for good. But that is what happens to these characters as well, except these BFFs find their way back to one another to be better than they were the day before. I absolutely love that Lo or Loretha has a dog, and the dog is like a major character in the book as well. I love the dog's name, BB King. Come on now. I love when she says, BB, don't do that, and Mr. King. It just adds to Terry McMillan's humor. Oh my goodness. And BB King has a personality as big and bright and vibrant as Loretha and her BFFs and everybody else in the book. He gets lonely too, like Lo when Carl dies. And he moans and he loves people who are in his life, and he wants to find love, but how in the world can he tell Lo when he can't speak English? But when he gets to that dog park, he's like, mopey, mopey. But then one day towards the end of the novel, he meets Holiday. Billy, that is. He meets Billie Holiday, and she is a cute chocolate delight. And she and BB end up together because Lo brings her home. Oh my goodness, I love that. Love even survives with the pooches. I love that the characters grow and stretch and learn to say I'm sorry when they're wrong, which is what so many of us don't do. I love that they help one another. They are there for one another, but they can't be there if you decide to check out like Poochie does. But when they learn that she has checked out, they embrace one another all the more because they don't want that to happen again. They want to be with one another and love one another through ups and downs. And that is so commendable, because friendship has always been at the center of so many of Terry McMillan's female characters' relationships. I love it that Carl has a son named Kwame who lives in Detroit with his mother. And he's gay. Oh my goodness, he's gay. And I'm thinking, Loretha might have a problem with that, but she doesn't. Loretha's heart is so big that she opens it up and welcomes Kwame into her home. But I won't tell everything, so you'll have to find out for yourself what's going on with Kwame. And I love that Sadie is in the closet and is being promiscuous with a preacher, but you'll find something else out about Sadie, and I'll leave that to you to read and discover for yourself. Terry McMillan must have had a mom who was every bit of a modern goddess. I mean, after all, she did produce Terry and Rosalind. And I think they have another sister. I'm not sure. But I met Rosalind. Yes, I said it. I met her sister, Rosalind McMillan. But I say Terry McMillan must have had a gem of a mom, a diamond of a mom, because the moms in all of Terry's novels are meant to be savored and sipped and loved, loved, loved for their humor, their grittiness, their gutsiness, their knowledge, their way of dealing with their children. I love the mom in this story. Her name is Geraldine. And when I discovered her name was Geraldine, much towards the end of the novel, it made me think of the comedian Flip Wilson and the character that he used to play on the Flip Wilson show. Her name was Geraldine. That mom in Terry's novel is so funny. She's funnier than Loretha and all of her girlfriends, and they are hilarious. Her mom is over in the nursing home having a blast of a time, sending her daughter Loretha notes and cards reminding her how to live life and shake it up and just have a good time and not just exist. Oh, I thought that was so, so good. And sometimes, we might need people to remind us to live life and even to know the things that we probably should know. Like, for the adults looking, sex is good. Odessa has to learn that because she has walked away from love and relationships. She doesn't know that. Lucky doesn't remember that because she's walked away from Joe. Sadie knows it, but she's having it in a way that's not leaving her happy. Jalecia might not know it, but it's good. And Loretha realizes that herself when she decides to get back into the relationship pool and she meets James in the hip hop class that Co leads. She looks down that row and she's like, hello. And James is like, hey, hey, hey. And that is it. Love blooms again and again. Oh, I also love the way that the other characters would tell her, Carl would want you to be happy. Carl would want you to go on living and loving. And I really think that's true. Our loved ones who loved us while they were here, they want us to go on and be happy because we still have the gift of life and we should still live it. I find it intriguing that a model was mentioned in the novel, and I'm going to research this model to see if there's actually a model in her 70s who is dubbed Mae, M-A-Y-E, Musk, M-U-S-K. I'm like, let's see. B.B. King existed, Billie Holiday, perhaps Mae Musk exists, and her slogan is said to be, I am what I make up. I am what I make up. I thought, she's creating her own scenarios here. She's saying, I live my life, I walk out on the stage of my life, and on that stage, I am whoever I want to be. Yeah. You know what? I found it delightful that Lucky's husband, Joe, wants to move and relocate to Costa Rica in his retirement years with her, with Lucky. But Lucky is like, Lo, I can visit Costa Rica, thank you, but there's no place like the USA. And that's where I want to be, not retired in another country. For what? I mean, I would go down there and visit, and that is on my bucket list. So yes, I don't know, I might go down and retire, who knows? Plus, the first time I heard of that was when one of my friends mentioned that she and her wife wanted to go to Costa Rica and retire there. She had been there and spent a great deal of time there, and she said it was absolutely beautiful. And foreigners could own land there, have businesses, and life was easier there and less expensive. I don't know. We'll see. I might have a vlog where I go down there and enjoy and share it with you. But I love the way Poochie is brought right along with the BFFs when they go on a trip. They go on a trip at the end of the novel, and it's on a cruise that Poochie actually puts together and pays for them. And they can bring someone with them because Poochie wants them to have love again and work on their relationships. She was not to go with them physically, but she does go with them in ashes. And they spread her ashes across the ocean. And when I got to that part, I thought about this song. That song does it for me. I love that. On the ocean, K. John, oh, that is so beautiful. It's like out there on the ocean. It's coming. I can see my ship coming in. And that ship, that cruise ship came in, and lo, brought her sister on the cruise, Odessa. Odessa was so shocked because they had been in conflict for so many years. And I know their mama was so happy when she learned that Loretha had invited Odessa to go with her. I love that so many reconnections were made on that cruise. And out there on the ocean, Poochie was left with her ashes on the water. So she was there too, to blow free on the wind and to drift free on the ocean. She was no longer sick and just deciding, how in the world am I going to live this life without her mother? Because her mother passes on. Oh my goodness, I will tell everything. Don't let me tell everything. I'm going to try not to tell everything. I so loved the point in the novel where Loretha decides to go to Japan while her son Jackson is still there, and visit and meet his Japanese wife and her 2 little granddaughters. Oh my goodness, that was so delightful when she goes to visit and she has a list of the things that she would want to see in Japan where they are. But she realizes while she's there, I want to go home. I miss home. I miss my own bed. And it makes you appreciate home and also appreciate being able to go somewhere else. And Jackson is so happy to have his mom come and visit. The little girls are thrilled with their grandma, and he has taught them to call her grandma. It is just wonderful. I loved it. I love the juxtapositioning of California, where the story takes place, and Japan. And Tokyo, California and Tokyo. Ah, yes, exquisite. When I finished reading the novel, I couldn't help but to go and visit Terry McMillan's website, www.terrymcmillan.com. For writers out there and readers, go and visit Terry's website. It is truly wonderful. It is a motherlode of information for writers. I am going to read a book I saw there amongst so many, a long listing of books. Yes, I had read quite a few of them, but quite a few I had not. But this book is entitled A year of writing dangerously. I like that title. Dangerous love. Dangerous sympathy. A year of writing dangerously by Barbara Abercrombie. Abercrombie. I'm going to read that. I'm going to read that, and I know it's going to resonate with me because the title stayed with me so much so that I wrote it down in my notes. Read that one first of so many on Terry's site. Terry McMillan was born, I found there, October 18th, 1951. So that makes Terry 68. Rosalind, I don't know how old Rosalind was. She may have been older than I am or a little bit younger, I don't know. But when I met Terry McMillan's sister Rosalind, and I'll put an image of her in this video, she was so beautiful, just like Terry. So very beautiful. She was reading from one of her books when I met her, and I had one of my sisters with me. I'm not sure if it was a blue collar blues, or if it was Knowing. I'm not certain which one of those novels she was discussing, but I loved her writing. Her writing was so memorable and beautiful, just like Terry's. But she was a different sort of a writer from Terry. Rosalind, I learned from Terry's website, she had passed away in 2017. She passed away June 13th, 2017, and my heart dropped. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I got a chance to meet you, Rosalind. You were awesome, a lovely speaker, a great reader for an audience of your own work, a wonderful entertainer. I loved meeting you, and I wish you well on your journey. Let's look at Terry's website. That's Terry, not Terri. TerryMcMillan.com. Terry McMillan. She has a listing on her site of writers and a title that says Writers Worth Reading. Camille Acker is the first writer on the list, and it goes down through so many more. It even has Michelle Obama. So befitting. But Barack is on the list as well. But the last writer is Ibi Zobo. I don't know that writer, but I know the two and the three. I know the 3 or 4 above that writer. Rebecca Walker. I know Colson Whitehead, and his novel is right here. Anita gave me his novel dealing with the Underground Railroad. So I know Colson Whitehead, I know Jacqueline Woodson, and I know her as long as I've known myself as a queer woman, because I love Jacqueline Woodson's stories. They are so beautiful. She has also on this list Nicola Yoon, and that is the writer of The Sun is Also a Star. I don't know if I've done a Wine, Women, and Words about Nicola's 2 books, but perhaps I'll do that. So, Amy Tan made the list. Kimberly Lawson Robbie made the list. Some of these, Walter Mosley, of course. What could you do? What could you do as a writer in America, conscious, without Toni Morrison? Janet Mock made the list. Yes, Tayari Jones. Let's go on her site. That's what you see. Isn't that a beautiful picture? That's Terry McMillan. Oh, you see my ring lights. That's Terry McMillan. And there's a quote. Here's a quote Terry has on her site. I've always liked the time before dawn because there's no one around to remind me who I'm supposed to be, so it's easier to remember who I am. Yes, unknown author. Terry is from Michigan, Port Huron, Michigan. So if you get a chance, go explore Terry's website, pick up a Terry McMillan novel, read It's Not All Downhill From Here. And if you think that's a bit too old for you because you're not in your 60s and you want younger reading, then read her Mama novel, her first novel, or read Disappearing Acts. Point. Anywhere you start with Terry McMillan, it will not disappoint. And I'm going to read Rosalind McMillan and honor her memory by picking up one of her last novels. She stopped writing. She wasn't as prolific as Terry. I don't know why she stopped. She was a grandmother and a loving wife. I guess she had other things to do, but I loved her work as well. So thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I will look forward to seeing you on the channel again. This is Claudia Moss with Wine, Women, and Words. Bye-bye. See you next time.